All right, so if you could just let me know in the chat if you can see me and also see my screen. There we go, perfect. I assume if 5 out of 5. All right, I have 12 o'clock right now. I'm just gonna wait another minute. I know I had. Took me an extra minute or two to log on to the software, so we have a full hour, so not in any rush to get started right at 12. So to kick us off, can everyone just tell me where you're logging in from? I assume everyone's more or less at home, but where is home for you? Oh, Fredericton, Halifax, New Glasgow, Hubbards. So a lot of folks from the city. Annie Ganesh, great. Daryl, welcome. Michael's from Windsor. I grew up in the valley as well. I'm originally from Port Williams. I'm now living in Timberley. Sydney, great. We got a Cape Bretonner here. All right, thanks everyone for participating. I have 12:01, so I'm just going to get started here and work our way through. So thank you everyone for taking time today and joining me for this Lunch and Learn webinar style. We'll be going over OneNote, so labeled it OneNote 101, organize your notes, plans, and ideas like a pro. So hopefully folks here, you might be brand new to OneNote, you may have opened it once, or you might be a regular user and use it daily. Hoping everyone learns at least one thing today going through this presentation, and I'll leave lots of time at the end for questions as they come up. If there's anything, I will try to monitor the chat as questions come up as we're going through. But if I miss that, I believe Beth's going to be helping me out and a few folks from Engineers Nova Scotia to make sure I get these questions at the end. So I'll be following the chat much more closely at the end of the presentation, but feel free to leave questions at any time. So my name is Robert Newcombe. I am an industrial engineer. I graduated Dalhousie from the industrial engineering program in 2013, and immediately after I joined Barrington upon graduation. So I've been at Barrington Consulting now for basically 7 full years, so almost to the day today. So it's pretty exciting. I didn't even realize that until we talked this through. But so as an industrial engineer, I don't know if there's any industrials on the line here, but you know, we're all about systems and processes and process improvement. So that's led me down a path to personal productivity, and a big tool that I use on a regular basis is OneNote across the Microsoft suite. But now I'm a associate partner at Barrington Consulting and co-lead a practice called Barrington OPS, which stands for Operational Performance Services. So we're focused a lot on Lean Six Sigma and process improvement training, coaching, and projects. So we do work across the public and private sector. So I did my MBA at Sobey School of Business part-time, graduated in 2016. I now have my Lean Six Sigma black belt, and I'm also a PMP. And my experience or span of clients have ranged across private and public sector. Currently have projects with agriculture and food processing, long-term healthcare, and all sorts of public sector with the provincial government of Nova Scotia, HRM, and City of Moncton as well. So I'll be honest, I really don't have a good memory. When I was growing up, I know my family knows this, my friends, my colleagues know this, my wife definitely knows this, and I was told at a young age, my father said, Robert, you know your memory is like a bunny's tail, short and fuzzy. So I thought that was pretty funny. So the next day I was talking to my grandparents. I was like, you guys know my memory's not great, right? It's a lot like a pig's tail, short and curly. So needless to say, my memory is bad enough to not even remember the joke about memory. So I have actually tried to turn this weakness into a strength, which is why I rely heavily on OneNote and remembering and storing and retrieving information that isn't meant to be stored in your head, because there's so much that comes in our way in the matter of a workday, which could span weeks, months, years if you need to go back and look for information. So the mind is great for creating ideas. That's how we're structured as humans, to be innovative, creative. It's not meant to store all this information, especially the fact that we can readily access this information from Google, and we're getting more and more information and more data on a daily basis than ever before. So folks that are familiar with Lean Six Sigma, they likely know the acronym TIMWOODS or downtime, and these are 8 different categories of waste. So things that are getting in your way and not adding value to your processes. So two of the O's in TIMWOODS is overprocessing and overproduction. So we can think of these types of waste in ways of storing our information. So overprocessing is simply doing more work that is necessary. So if the customer puts value on our product or value on our services, anything that we do extra is a waste. So things such as quality checks. Customers expect it to be done right the first time. If we need to go through several layers of approval for signatures, that is all overprocessing. And we want to limit and reduce and eliminate overprocessing. So the same thing can be applied to your own thinking and your own notes and your own storage of information. You don't want to waste time thinking about things more than once. So if it's on the back of your mind, if you have an urgent action item or something to do, and it's always bothering you and it's always at the back of your mind, and on a daily basis or an hourly basis it's coming up, and you're like, and it's distracting you, that's overprocessing. You're thinking about it more than once, and you want to make sure that once you write it down and put it in OneNote and have it either on a to-do list or it's being stored. I'm going to cover in the upper right corner. Oh, you guys can see this. How's that? Is that better? Okay, good. Just so you know, I can't see chat messages, but thanks for bringing that up. So I'm going blind here, but thank you. So 2 types of waste: overprocessing and overproduction. So we don't want to think about things more than once. That's overprocessing. So if we have a system to actually track and keep sorting our notes and organize that, that's great. The other type of waste is overproduction. And you may be in a situation where you are getting notes in all of these meeting agendas and meeting items and Excel documents, Word files, PowerPoints, PDFs, whatever it might be. We're collecting all this information, and maybe we're doing research online and we're getting it just in case. You know what, maybe I will need this for my project, or maybe this will come in handy next week or months down the road. We're spending too much time. And the same could be said with webinars. Maybe you're taking in all these webinars because you're working from home, you want a change of pace, and you think it's a good time to learn, but if you're not going to apply what you're learning from these webinars, it's a waste. So what we want to do with OneNote is have all this information readily available just in time when you need it, and not just in case you need it. So I don't know if folks are familiar with getting things done, or the GTD model. It's a bit of an old book, and it was written back in the 80s, but the same process, the same principles can be applied to an electronic or digital workspace. So it starts, we get all of this stuff, whether it's files from email, whether it's meeting notes and agendas, whether it's physical documents, virtual documents, things we're finding online, video, audio, all of these different mediums, social media, it's all coming at us. And it may also be like your own thoughts, your own ideas. Maybe it's notes from a conversation you have or notes from a meeting. All of this stuff needs to come together. And if you're sorting it in all different spaces, it's hard to keep track of and hard to manage. So in this model, we have one inbox. So all of our stuff goes into this inbox. And then it's just a matter of working through a process, working through a system to know what to do with it. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is it actionable? If it's not actionable, there's really three options. You either get rid of it, you eliminate it, you throw it in the trash, the recycling bin, or you never collect it in the first place. The second option is you incubate it. So basically it's a possible action, but you have nothing to action on it right now. So maybe it's something that you want to remind yourself of, someday, maybe later. Maybe environments change or situations change and it becomes more relevant at a later place. And then there's reference information. So that's more or less all of your notes, your ideas, things that could be helpful that you want to look back on at a later date. So someone brings up, we talked about this, we made a decision at our last meeting. What was it? That would be reference information. So other ideas and items will be actionable. So there's a few different ways to treat these actionable items. If it's multi-step, actions, we can treat these as projects. And I assume a lot of folks are familiar and deal with projects. We might have project managers on the call as well. And these you want to manage on their own. So you create projects, they have these project plans, and you're constantly cycling through these projects and figuring out what is the next action and what's the plan and the forecast. So I won't focus too much on that, but this is really focused on what is the next action, what are the things to do. And so if you have something, you've written it down, what's the next action? If it's less than 2 minutes, just do it right away. And we say the same thing about emails. If an email comes in your inbox and it's going to take less than 2 minutes to action or reply, just do it. If you read it, you put it away and then come back to it, it's that task or that cost of task switching, which is going to put you further behind and make you less productive. So less than 2 minutes, just do it. Otherwise, you want to see if you can delegate it. So that's the first thing, or the next thing you want to ask yourself is this better suited for someone else? Whether they have the skills to do it, maybe they have the time to do it and the capacity, or maybe you're just too busy and it's better given to somebody else. And then the next thing is if you're not doing it and you're not delegating it, then you have to defer it. And basically defer it just means you're going to do it later. And you have to decide then whether you put it in the calendar to do it a specific time and specific day, or you put it on a to-do list to do at some point in the future. So how this model relates to OneNote and your whole virtual system is all of this stuff that you're getting, your thoughts, your ideas, your meeting notes, almost all of it can go into OneNote. So you now have one central repository or location to action all of and store all of your ideas. If it's not actionable, you eliminate it. You can just throw it in the recycling bin or the trash. But those ideas that you want to incubate and come back to later, that can be in OneNote. And then all of your reference information, especially because of the sorting or the searching capability of OneNote, it's a great place to put this reference information that you might need to come back to at a later date. Projects you can also track in OneNote and your project plans. But what we're going to focus on is these next action items is things that you delegate, you can also put in OneNote. And we recommend using OneNote with Outlook flags or tasks. I'll talk more about that when I actually open up OneNote. And then Microsoft also has a to-do. So I assume most folks here work with Microsoft if you're tuning in for OneNote. So you likely have Outlook, and you have, if you're on Office 365, you have access to all these other Microsoft products, and they're constantly evolving every single week. And one of the new ones that has come out is To-Do, and it's one central location to manage all of your tasks and activities. So if you flag it in OneNote, you can also see it in To-Do. If you want to schedule something on a calendar to do on a specific day or specific time, that's when you move it from OneNote to Outlook. But there's a lot of collaboration between the two tools. And then if it's a to-do list, something to do right away, again, using those Outlook flags in OneNote so you can track those in To Do as well. So that's all I had prepared on the slides. I think the best way to learn and show the capabilities of OneNote is actually opening up OneNote versus me going through a slide presentation of OneNote. So I'm going to open this up now. I'm just going to make sure that everyone can. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to have to reshare my screen here one sec. All right, so now everyone should see OneNote. So I'm going to have to flip back and forth a little bit just to kind of show the integration points between Chrome or the internet and bringing things back and forth out of OneNote. So just bear with me with that and we'll make sure the technology is fairly smooth there. So the first thing I want to demonstrate in OneNote is just starting and creating a notebook. So this is OneNote 2016. It's fairly straightforward and everyone will likely have a very similar layout. So there's two ways to create a notebook. In the top left here, you'll see this is your list of notebooks and you can add notebook in the top left, or you can go to File, New Notebook. So I'll create one from here. I highly recommend, if you are an Office 365 user, create your notebooks in OneDrive because it's going to make it so much easier after to share with your other colleagues, and then connect to the cloud and your mobile devices. So one of the biggest benefits of OneNote is being able to say, open up your notebook on your laptop, on your tablet, and on your phone, and it's syncing effortlessly between all of your devices. So I'll go to OneDrive here. I'll just create a notebook in a notebook folder, and we're just going to call this Coronavirus Project. Oh, typo there. May 2020. So you'll see my only option here is to save as a OneNote type because I'm creating it through OneNote. So the first thing it's going to ask is, do you want to share with other people? So if you know you're going to be collaborating on a project and there's going to be multiple people adding to this, you can invite them at the start, but you can also invite people later. So if you're not sure or don't know the whole logistics behind it, you can just click Not Now. So this is going to be your first viewer screen. You'll have your notebook name in the top left. You have sections at the top and then pages down at the right. So the easiest way to think of OneNote is like a physical notebook. So OneNote would be your backpack. OneNote carries all of your notebooks. Then you have your list of your notebooks here. So if you have a physical notebook, it might make sense to say, well, if you're using a notebook per class, if you're thinking back to school, that might be how you organize your own notes. So maybe it's by project or by role. You have a notebook for each of those. Then within your notebook, you'll probably remember you had dividers or tabs. Those would be your sections that go along the top. So maybe you need to divide it by phase or by topic, your project or whatever you're collecting notes on. And then on the right here, you'll see pages. So just like a sheet of paper, these would be each page. So we'll start and we'll say, you know what, my first section is just going to be research. Need a lot to learn about coronavirus and we have a lot of research and we want to use Notebook or OneNote as this one source of information to kind of pull research from all of these different areas, all these different websites, PDFs, slide decks, spreadsheets, whatever it might be. It all lives in one place to be easily viewed and shared. So let's start with global. So I'm going to, bear with me here. I'm going to open Johns Hopkins. So you'll see here, I have the coronavirus Johns Hopkins interactive map open. So if you're interested in dashboards, this is a pretty neat and cool interactive dashboard for everything that's happening with COVID-19. So one thing that OneNote's really good at is screen clipping information, and that's probably my biggest use of OneNote, is capturing information, whether it's from the web or from other desktops, even webinars. Like if you want to take a screen clipping of what's happening live, doing that in OneNote is pretty simple and easy. So if I go to OneNote, I know you probably can't share this, but I'll show it after. And if I click the screen clipping tool, I can highlight over, screen clip, and then it puts it in OneNote here. So if I open OneNote back up, you'll see that my screen clipping, what I did is I went to screen clipping at the top, highlighted it, and brought it in. So it's going to show exactly what you're seeing on the website and bring it in as you see it. So maybe it's a video that you want to take a screen clipping of, or a presentation. It's just going to take that screen clipping at that moment in time. So it's also going to tell you the date and the time that you brought that screen clipping in. I'm going to go back to the browser here, because I think the best way to show a lot of this, and one of the most helpful tools on, if you're using Chrome or another sort of browser, is this Clip to OneNote tool. So it's actually called the OneNote Web Clipper if you're searching it on your own. And from here, there's a number of different options. So it's just saving you a click or two by having it embedded in your OneNote toolbar or your Chrome or browser toolbar, where you can bring in a full page. So instead of trying to Control A and select everything on that page, or screen clip what you can see, this will actually bring in the entire page into your OneNote. Another option is the region. So that would be similar to the screen clipping. It's the exact same functionality as if you opened up OneNote and click the screen clipping button. The third option is article. So if you open a website and there's a number of pictures that you don't want, or there's these ads that are just going to get in the way, this is just a quick click to highlight all of the text and bring that article in from the browser into OneNote. And then the fourth option is bookmark. So instead of just copying and pasting the URL, it's going to give a little bit more information to it, which will be helpful if you need to search at a later date. If you can't remember the URL, it's a very funky URL that you're not going to reference. This will bring in more information based on the page. So clip, I'm just going to say, this is the World COVID-19 dashboard. I'm going to clip that. And hopefully you can see all this on the screen. You'll see clip successful. Now, if I open up OneNote, sometimes it takes a little bit, but you should see the bookmark page come in. So that might just be from flipping back and forth between the screens. So yeah, with the OneNote Web Clipper, there's screen clipping, full page, article, and bookmarks. So that's a very handy tool to download. So next, we'll look at bringing in other sorts of documents, or inserting other sorts of documents. And one of the other things that you'll likely do through your browser is download PDFs, download slide decks, and different types of information from the web. So now you can see my browser, and if I look for Canada coronavirus, most folks have probably been on this website too, just to see different updates on the situation. So you'll see, similar to Johns Hopkins, it has an interactive map. But what we want to do is we want to bring in PDF reports. So because we're looking to gather all this different types of research, we're going to open this full report here. So instead of copying and pasting the link, the other way to do it is, if you have a PDF, is download the PDF. So download to desktop, I'll save that, and then if I open OneNote back up, I can put in either a file printout or file attachment. So basically what this means is if I do a file printout, it's going to show all of the pages of the document inside of OneNote. So it'll take a moment, it'll actually open up the PDF, and then depending on the size of the document, that's how long it'll take to put in. But you can see here the number of different pages in that PDF is now copied and pasted in OneNote. So you'll see you can't select it like text, it's actually a PDF. But one of the cool things you can do with OneNote is you can make text searchable, and you can also copy text from page in the printout. So this, depending on the quality of the PDF and the quality of the text, works to varying degrees. So I'm just going to try this out. If I copy text from this page, and now if I go to paste, you will see there's some typos here and some kind of formatting issues, but it's not bad, especially if you have a PDF and you have no other options of copying and pasting text, or you're taking a picture with your phone of a document and you don't have a converter. OneNote does an okay job, and it's easier to kind of work with this than start from scratch and try to retype. So you can see the title and the bullets here, key updates. You can see the bullets down here with decent functionality and quality. So that would be a PDF printout. You can also just insert the file attachment, and all that's going to do is bring in the attachment like an email. So you can pull it in here, double click, and then it's going to open in whatever PDF viewer you have. So that was file printouts. For those, what I really like for file printouts is PowerPoints. So if I'm getting a PowerPoint presentation ahead of a meeting, it's sent to me in advance, and I know this is where I want to take my notes. I want to take it over top of the PowerPoint and not keep it in two different areas. Then OneNote's really helpful for that. But the problem that some of you may have noticed is if you're bringing in PowerPoint slides, the slides come in sideways. So I'll just quickly demonstrate how that looks and why that happens. So if I go back to Canada here, they have a PDF. They actually had a slide deck. I assume this was probably created in PowerPoint, and they saved it as a PDF. So you'll see it's in landscape mode, like most PowerPoints are. So if I download this, save it to my desktop, and then if I open up OneNote, and insert file printout. I just downloaded this. It'll take a few moments. So just for reference, this is 21 pages. So if you have a large document, a lot of pages or a lot of slides, it could take several minutes for it to download. So this is how it's going to come in. So you'll notice all of these slides come in sideways, and as far as I know, there's no way to easily flip these around. So you'll see you can order, you can move, you can resize, but there's no easy way to actually rotate these, all your slides, so it's easy to read. So the way to fix this is if you go back to Chrome, you will see the print icon. So many may be familiar with the Save as PDF option. So you might be on a web page and, you know, instead of actually printing, you want to save it as a PDF versus taking a screen clipping. You can also send to OneNote. So what this is going to do is it's going to take, similar to print as PDF, it's just going to print your pages as PDF, but it's going to send it directly to OneNote. So if you don't do anything, it's going to look just like the PDF that was sent, and it's going to be flipped. But if you go to more settings, and if you have to go to use print using system dialog, this is where you're going to find more of your options. So if you go to preferences, you can then switch it to landscape. So everything's going to be default portrait, switch to landscape, and send to OneNote to print. I don't know if you can see it on my screen, but my OneNote is now flashing orange. So if I go back, it'll ask you where you want to share it in OneNote. So I'll just say I want to put it in this new section, click OK, and now it's going to come in landscape, which is great. So, I mean, the reason why you might want to put PowerPoint slides in OneNote in the first place is the options to draw and highlight. So for instance, you're going through a meeting, this is the slide deck for the meeting, and if there's certain things here, you can highlight using the function at the top. So this would be under draw. You can also draw things. So maybe you want to underline, maybe you want to circle. So you have to do this with the mouse on a laptop, but if you have a tablet, especially if you have a stylus on your tablet, it can be very easy to write and highlight and circle things. And then at the top, you can also type over top. So you can double click anywhere on the page and write information and click and drag. So perhaps maybe I want to write and then type as well. So if you don't feel comfortable actually writing out with your mouse or handwritten notes, you can also type anywhere on the page as well, and then use different fonts, colors, sizes, etc. to better organize your information. So as far as inserting other types of media, I mean, of course, because it's a Microsoft product, it can easily insert different types of spreadsheets or start a new spreadsheet, and that same functionality will exist within OneNote. You can insert Visio diagrams and move them around in OneNote. Screen clippings, very straightforward and easy, and I showed that earlier. Pictures, online pictures is interesting because you don't actually have to go to Google, find the picture and bring it in. But mind you, you're limited to Bing search results. So if I want to search, Stephen McNeil, then I can find pictures of Stephen McNeil and just easily bring it in. And then same with videos. So if you were to insert an online video, I'm just gonna, I know you can't see this, but I'm just gonna get a YouTube link. And if I just copy that YouTube link in, it's going to insert that video right into OneNote, and you can play the video in OneNote. So that's can be very easy. So again, you can see that you can get all of this information in sources from all these different spots and put it all in one place. And I guess the last thing is, if you want to connect your OneNotes, maybe you're doing research on one project and it makes sense to another project, you can link to other notebooks. So if you want to easily jump back and forth, you can pick those locations, you can change the links and easily jump back and forth to better organize and put hierarchy to your notes and information. So that's what I wanted to show with new projects. I'll just kind of go over one of my existing projects to show a bit of the hierarchy and what I've done to set it up. So with some projects, I mean, I'll usually do it by project phase. So usually there's some element of research or discovery up front, followed by, you know, a current state analysis, future state analysis. Maybe you have a number of meetings and you want to organize all that in one spot. So you can see here with pages, you can go down to 3 levels and you can roll them up. So here I had kind of 6 headers. I did a jurisdictional scan, broke that down, and I wanted to kind of group it a little bit further based on other RFPs. So all of this information now is in one spot, which is great because now I can search just on this page, or search by section group, by notebook. So having these different options to search, you can really kind of narrow down your search or widen your search based on all the information that you've pulled together in one spot. So with meetings, I mentioned screen clipping was probably my most used, but my meeting details and meeting notes is definitely the most used functionality of OneNote. So if I go back to the home page, you'll see meeting details here. So this is connected to your Outlook. So it's going to bring in all of your meeting details, all of your scheduled appointments or meetings into OneNote. So because I'm pretty diligent with my calendar and I basically schedule everything in my calendar, whether it's an appointment, meeting, or just time for myself, you can see I have the Engineers Nova Scotia OneNote today. I can insert that and it will bring in the details. So meeting date, location, it will show the participants listed. You can expand your invitation message. So if you have your agenda, it will all show in this area here, and then it just sets you up to take meeting notes. So you may have come across this before where you know you took meeting notes, you know you wrote them somewhere, you don't know where you wrote them down, but you know exactly what meeting it was from. Well, if you're using this functionality, you can go back to your calendar, find the meeting, copy and paste the meeting name, and then find it easily here. So you can quickly and easily find your meeting notes. It's great for tracking participants, so who attended, who didn't attend. It's going to bring all that information in, and then it's also going to show who was invited, their email address, and other information that's all captured within the meeting invite. The other cool thing you can do is email the page. So if you're taking meeting notes for the entire meeting and you want to send those meeting minutes to the group or to an individual, you can email the page as is, and you can see it'll automatically update. Actually, sorry, I don't think you can see that. One sec. So if I clicked email page, it's going to open up my email browser, Outlook, and show here who the participants were. It's going to bring them all in, and then it'll link everything that you wrote down for in your OneNote. So again, track participants. You can also link to meeting notes if you want. So if I go back to OneNote here, other things that might be helpful for meeting notes is different page templates. So see at the top, I went to Insert, Page Templates. There's a number of different defaults here, whether it's academic, business. So if I go to business, you'll see a number of different types of meeting notes. So most of our meetings, at least with Barrington, are informal. So it might just be a matter of what's the agenda, action items, important dates, details, announcements, discussion, summary, next meeting. So it could save you some time from having to type this all from scratch and make sure that you're saving all this information. And you can also create your own templates. So if I wanted to change some of these titles or headings or add some new things, you can save current pages template, and then you can reuse that over and over again. So maybe certain types of meetings take certain standard notes that can be helpful going forward. Just reviewing. Oh, and also with taking notes, I find this is an underutilized function of OneNote, is the dock to desktop view. So I'm not quite sure how this is going to look through the webinar, but you can't see my second screen here, but you'll notice OneNote is docked to the right of the screen. So in the rest of the 3 quarters here, you can use, whether it's a webinar, whether it's a video, whether it's a live meeting, maybe it's your Teams. If you're using Microsoft Teams or Zoom for meetings, you can have that in the 3 quarters there, and then save your other quarter for meeting notes. So very helpful, especially if you're working from home and you only have 1 monitor and you're used to 2. It can be helpful to kind of easily toggle back and forth between. And the other thing, as I expand this back open, yeah, so you can either do it as a new window, but the new docked window is something that I use quite a bit, or I should say the dock to desktop up here. So I'll just quickly go through my personal OneNote here. This is how I've set up everything outside of work. So whether it's related to family, other types of career, different ideas, I have my own personal OneNote. So basically everything else in my life gets captured here to some extent or another. All right, so you can see that. So one thing that I use, I mentioned earlier that I do have a terrible memory, and I found myself coming up with great ideas for gifts, whether it's for birthdays or Christmas presents, and I would never write it down, or I'd write it down in a sticky note and then lose it. But having OneNote and having OneNote functionality between your mobile device and your laptop, I can quickly open up my mobile, put it into OneNote, and then it's saved, and I don't have to worry about remembering it. So you might have different ideas. So here I have gifts, and then I have it with different people, ideas, even gifts for myself. I track those because I find people asking me, well, what do you want for your birthday? And I have no idea off the top of my head, but if I'm writing it down, it's helpful. It's also helpful if you're trying to maintain a budget and you're trying to maintain your spending, just to write your ideas down, come back to it in a couple weeks and say, you know what, I didn't actually want that or really need that. It was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. Log is just capturing all types of information, whether it's on a daily basis or weekly basis. So if you're one that does journaling or keeps a regular log of your exercise or running or different things like that, it could be one spot to capture all that information. One thing I do like to capture and keep track of is notes from all the books I read. So I have a list of books to read. As you'll notice, it's a very long list. Unfortunately, this list just keeps getting longer than it does shorter. Find more ideas to read and less time to read them. But I do keep a running tally in case I retire or actually schedule some time to read these books. And then I keep track of all of my book notes. So any book that I read, I tend to read more on Kindle these days, so I can actually highlight notes and then capture and export here. But you can see most books that I've read, I take notes and capture it here. So this is great if you want to look back for reference information. Say, you know what, I know I've read a couple books on this subject. Where can I find that information? It's kind of this, we soak in all this information, but rarely get a chance to use it or rarely remember it. So if you can take notes so you can easily search, find it, and then apply it, you're going to find that you're going to be more productive that way. You'll notice that some have asterisks and some don't. The asterisks are book notes that I've stolen from other people. So I haven't actually read the book. It's kind of an indicator that maybe I should read it, but you don't have time to read all the books, and a lot of times people will take those notes for you. So I've actually imported some of that here as well. Other ideas or options, yeah, I've real estate investing, so I capture all of my real estate information in research in OneNote. People and networking, keeping tabs with folks is captured here. Career, recipes, I have a long list of recipes, have probably only used a dozen of them, but I tend to stumble across them and think it's a good idea and come back to it. So I've stored this here. It's probably could use a 5S exercise. Keep track of my finances, any sorts of relaxation or just personal fun stuff, health, and then reference. So one thing that I found really good is you get these warranty items or books and instructions that you never think you need or you keep, and they're just piling in a drawer and you actually never use. Just taking a picture with my phone, throwing it into OneNote, so if I ever do need it, I can easily search it, find it, and bring it up here. All right, so that's all I had on my agenda. Actually, no, one other thing I do want to cover is tasks. So if I go here, home, you have your to-do tags and your tasks, or different types of tags. So the most used tag, and most people do, is to-do. So if I want to say, if I'm taking meeting notes, for example, and I action item for end of week, what a lot of people do is they'll put a to-do item here. So they'll say, okay, I have to do this item. There's a task checkbox. I'll check it off or not check it off. But the problem is if you don't go back to this OneNote page, it's hard to find. So what I recommend doing, and what I've started doing a couple of years ago, is integrating with Outlook tasks at the top. So if I go to Outlook tasks, you'll see a number of shortcuts. But if you use the tag, if you're used to using flags in Outlook, you'll know the different options here. But I've selected this as end of week due date, and I've put a tag here. So the great thing about this, as I flip over to my Outlook, one sec, I had to open up Outlook back up. So here you can see on the right, under tomorrow, action item for end of week. So this is where you can see a lot of the good integration between Microsoft projects. So if you're used to running your to-do list and your action items in Outlook, you don't have to flip back and forth between OneNote and Outlook and your other activities. You can simply mark it with a flag, and then it's going to pop up in this to-do list. Or if you are, on the bleeding edge and you're using Microsoft To Do, putting a flag on it will also put it in that list as well. So whether you have an action item for end of day, for tomorrow, or a specific date, you can do that in here. So that's where you might want to do custom. In custom, this is where you're going to get all your different details. So start date, due date, when you need to get this activity done. If you really want to do % complete, although if it's a task, you don't want to track it % complete, because if it's that big, you're going to want to break it up into many different smaller tasks. But you can track a lot more information here. So as I look through my list, those are all the big things I wanted to cover and show today. So we have 10 minutes. I'm going to, I just realized you probably didn't see that in there for tasks. Unfortunately, Adobe Connect doesn't seem to be the easiest software for jumping back and forth between screens. But just to show this again, if I go into OneNote and I go to Outlook Tasks here, I can go to Custom. And then if I go to Custom, I can set a number of different items. So start date, end date, or due date, priority, % complete, etc. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for now, just so I can have a look at questions. And I guess feel free to ask any questions, and I'll try to keep track, and I'll open up OneNote and try to demo that if it makes sense. If not, I'll just talk through it. So the first one is, can you insert an email with attachments? Yes, great. So let's try this. First off, you can. There's two ways to do it. The simplest way is if you want to copy an email, you can just right click or Control-C copy. And then if you open OneNote, you can just paste it in. So as I go back, I know you probably couldn't see that, but I'll open OneNote up. And then you can either paste that email, so you can see that here. So I can double click that email, and it will show that email with the attachments. So it's just as simple as going Control-C or right-clicking and copy in Outlook, and then pasting in OneNote. So you'll notice you can either attach file, which is what this is, or insert printout. And with printout, you'll notice that it doesn't show the attachments. It just shows all of the text within that email. Oh, so Stephanie, that's great. I just tried inserting a PowerPoint in my OneNote and the slides came in landscape mode without any manipulation. Perfect. That wasn't the case a few months ago. So that seems to be something that they did update. But I do know if you are saving it as a PDF and it's in landscape view, it usually doesn't default to that. So you may have to print to OneNote to overwrite that. And the printing to OneNote can be used not just for PDFs or slide decks, but it can be used for any sort of web page, which can be very, very helpful. Can a OneNote user share info with someone who does not have a OneNote app? Yes, you can print as PDF. So if I have any OneNote page, let's just say you're taking meeting notes. If you go to File, Export, you can export page, section, or notebook, and you can save it as so you can save it as Word document, PDF, or as a OneNote section. So if they don't have OneNote, I don't believe they can open the OneNote files, but you can easily transfer it to Word or to PDF or other different formats. So you can do that with a page or a section. You can do it with a whole notebook, but I highly recommend you don't do that because it can get very messy. But in most cases you wouldn't, you just want to export the page anyway. Have you used OneNote through Microsoft Teams? Is there any functionality lost if you use OneNote through Microsoft Teams? So I'm not, if that's just a matter of sharing your screen, I haven't actually used the app through Microsoft Teams, so I know it has a lot of embedded functionality. I've used the wiki in Teams, and it acts just very similar to OneNote as far as taking notes. I haven't personally tried sharing it. Anytime that I'm using Teams in OneNote, I usually just share my screen and have everyone view it off my screen as far as showing and sharing information. But as far as the app within Teams, I haven't tried, and I don't know. I can't speak to the functionality. Great. I don't know if there's any other questions. It must just mean I answered them all well in the first place. So hopefully at least you took one thing from this, if not several small things. And again, it's one of those tools that is pretty straightforward, and there's a lot to it. So I encourage you just to try it out, play with different things, explore around the functionality. There's a lot online. There's a lot of YouTube videos about the different, tricks and tips. But I think this likely covered a lot of them at a high level at least. But again, just to recap, I think the meeting notes and the screen clipping, if you're someone that does a lot of research and pulls a lot of different data and pieces together, that'll be very helpful in downloading the browser extension, OneNote Clipper. But if you're someone that does at least a few meetings every single day, use those meeting details, pull that in, take those notes, and now you know exactly where you have those meeting notes. It's all going to be one place. You can search it, and you can always make sure that you remember those items. Or you don't have to remember because you can now search in OneNote to find that information. All right, I'll again, feel free if you have any questions, you can connect with me through email, rnewcombe@barringtongrp.ca. But the easiest way is just to connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search Robert Newcombe, and I'd be happy to connect with anyone here. And if you have any specific questions about OneNote, or you try some things out and want to connect, just send me a message, and I'm open to connect that way. Great, thank you. Hope everyone's doing well, staying safe, staying productive, but not being too hard on yourselves either. It's a very interesting time for all of us, and hopefully you took something away from this, and I helped a little bit with